Hello, everybody. Online today to take this political sextant quiz. It's kind of like the political compass test, but a little different. All these things are a little bit screwy, in my opinion, as far as actually getting accurate results. Before I actually start with that, though, let me share my entire screen. And I posted about this earlier, I think today, and I had a weird result on Twitter. I get weird responses sometimes. Like this person, I posted about this test, and this person says, this is mine. First of all, this is not the sextant test. This is the compass test. They didn't actually read what I posted as far as using this one. This is a different test. They also posted this weird-ass saying, well, this is the test that they came up with for the candidates from 2016, and I'm calling bullshit on all the Republicans being that authoritarian and Clinton being here and Sanders being here. First of all, these two are much more strict on gun control. This one wants to redistribute some of the wealth, so that's going to take a more level of authoritarianism. A much fairer one that I saw was this one. However, this one, I'm still not sure where you put Trump, because Trump changes depending on what the hell he's saying. Where I saw Reb, I wouldn't even put Reb over here. Reb is actually, for everything I've seen of him, he'd be over here with the Republicans, and he used to be a Republican. So I'm not sure what this guy, and then when I point that out, he said, when I said I had questioned who answered the questions for him, that I would. They behave like authoritarian capitalists. Huh? I don't know. And then the other things got weird on that one. I wonder how some of these people do take these tests. Oh, do we have we got Jack on. Hi, Jack. Like I'm just looking at this. I'm like, how do you put all the Republican candidates here, but put Clinton and Sanders here?
I don't know. I looked at it and thought it was all about perspective.
Yeah, I think it also, my question, I want to see the actual candidates fill out the political compass quiz before I buy that as being the case. But these two both believe in more gun control, and this Sanders more redistribution of the wealth. That would have to put more into the authoritarian, even though, the economic side is usually put on the left-right spectrum. But putting these guys up here, like I said, I think this one is a much fairer representation, with Trump going any place in the freaking chart, depending on what he says during the campaign.
Or during the day.
Oh, yeah, that's well, during the days of the campaign, because this was a snapshot in time during the 2016 election. But this isn't even the test. The guy, I posted this, and he said, this is mine, but this isn't the test I even posted. The test I posted is the political sextant test. So if you all click on that link and bring it up, let me know when y'all got it.
I'm going out the helicopter, according to that.
Repeat that slowly.
I already took it. According to the test, I'm going out the helicopter.
Well, we'll go take it live.
Well, I'll do that in a fucking minute because I need to save first.
You know what first?
I need to save No Man's Sky. It's actually become pretty good.
Okay.
Really? So you got your pocket picked?
It actually is really good now, dude.
Actually, I'm going to stop screen sharing. I'm going to try sharing a particular application window. Not Google Hangouts. Can I choose one from the other screen?
Yeah, you can.
There we go. What? I have to click it really fast. I see it pop up for just a second, then it goes away. All right, let's see if I move some stuff around, if I can make it function like that.
Hold on a second, I'll be right back.
Application window. The multi-screen in OS 10 is giving me some fits on this. Okay, so now I'm going to share that. Cool. And now I'm going to see if I can move this. No, I just want to move this one window. Why are you? Okay. So it's definitely showing that now. And it's showing that. But I want you separate. This is frustrating. How do I compute it? Well, you know what? I think I can actually work with this as it is. So let me go ahead and take the quiz. Actually, no, let me Firefox. Oh, there we go. I think we can. All right, let's see how that works. Oh, that's much better. Let me check to see if all my screens are working correctly. Yep, finally got that to everyone. Okay, now let's see if we can actually get this quiz going. Take the quiz. All right, first question after we get past juggling windows. We should strive to remove hierarchy where we can. I don't see how.
Right.
What's that?
You're goddamn right.
How? There's always hierarchy. Some people are better than
No, I slightly disagree because the whole order from chaos, chaos from disorder, and so on and so forth. But I mean, you gotta have it there because otherwise, everybody claims that they'll be their own island and their own sovereignty and so on and so forth.
So you're saying you're saying there needs to be hierarchy?
Like I said, I slightly disagree with that. That yes, you do need a certain hierarchy in certain places, and in certain situations, it could definitely be done away with.
Yeah, I'm thinking under most circumstances, especially if any kind of organization where something has to be done, someone probably is going to have to hand down instructions to someone else of what's going to be done. It's not like people are going to automatically organize into a completely functioning unit to create something without some kind of hierarchy.
It's anonymous.
It's anonymous? Yeah, but anonymous is also pretty scattershot. So I'm going to say disagree, and people can say whatever they want on theirs. I never actually used these buttons. Pros. People would be free to make their own choices without unjustified power structures. A good thing considering the frequent incompetence of rulers. People may not all choose the best for themselves, but their own choice is better than that of some official. I don't know about that. But, all right. Capitalism has failed and should be replaced with another system. I personally say disagree.
I say slightly agree because luxury gay space communism.
Oh, you mean fantasy stuff.
Yes.
A post-scarcity society where stuff could be created out of air. We have replicators? Maybe.
I think we're actually getting to that point, really, from a technological perspective. From a current day perspective, capitalism is the best we got, but in about, I'd say, 100 years, when we're all dead but YOLO, I think we will have that shit.
I don't think so. We're supposed to have flying cars by now. Where's my flying car?
Well, in fairness, flying cars are a stupid idea.
But I'm just saying, where's my flying car at? Where's my
your
fucking
flying
hoverboard?
car was canned when it was realized it was less of a good idea than originally intended.
Also, for individuals, it's awfully energy expensive, my understanding.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, where's my hoverboard?
That'd be kind of neat. Well, according to Back to the Future, shouldn't we had it like 2 years ago?
Yeah. They have one out right now that works off of magnetic fields. It's kind of impressive, but it's still, you have to be on a certain kind of surface to get it to levitate.
Yeah, which kind of eliminates a lot of the fun of that.
Yeah, it sucks.
All right. Large-scale civilizations are unsustainable. How large are we talking about? I think the larger you get, maybe the more unsustainable. Well, that depends on what you mean by sustainable. Damn it, let's look at what they have in here for descriptions.
Okay, you know what? As someone who has played a shit ton of 4X games with regards to space civilization, there's always that certain point where if you don't delegate shit out into like provinces and like self-sufficient little vassals and shit, you aren't going to be able to sustain a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I'm going with this thing. Large-scale societies have allowed us to produce such elevated forms of art and science that would have otherwise been impossible to attain. Quite frankly, about the size of societies I think we have, we wouldn't have some of the modern technology we have, and I like all modern technology.
So I agree with you. The problem is if we start becoming a multi-planet civilization, we're going to have those problems.
Well, at that point, I'm thinking multi-planet, especially without proper communications, it's going to be multiple civilizations.
Yeah, because the speed of light from Earth to Mars, which is the speed at which we communicate to Mars with for the Mars rovers, is 20 minutes one way.
Yeah. Oh, Greg, do you have this the survey up?
I should have it up. Yeah, I'm just kind of following along though.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys think that society or civilizations have become more or less sustainable, like with like all the new technology and stuff like that can be used to like monitor people and prevent people from like coming together and stuff like that and joining up and I think maybe more sustainable because it prevents people from like coming together and like rebelling or whatever. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I just look at it from a macro scale that, you know, there comes a point where you just can't take over anymore, and then you're going to have to push people out.
Okay.
To seed elsewhere.
Like you wouldn't have the resources and stuff like that to sustain, I guess.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Next question we have: we should strive to remove borders that separate us as human beings.
I
slightly disagree on that one.
I slightly agree, and here's why.
Okay.
When it comes to borders and civilization as it is, the problem we have as a large-scale civilization is that, unfortunately, there is so much disparity between income and resources available that we do need the ability to go nomadic between places in event of stuff. It's why I don't have much of a problem with people acting as refugees, because it is a situation where if you have war, famine, things like that, you need to get the fuck out of there, because we could lose the next Einstein if we don't do that. On the other hand, at the same time, when you go to someone else's house, you need to obey the rules of the house. So if you're going to cross the border to say, come to the United States, you better fucking assimilate.
And then that's where the pushback comes. That's where you get the, and I really hate to use this place as an example. So in Louisville, there's Americana, and that's where most of the immigrants tend to migrate from. And then they spend a few years in that shell before they push out and go elsewhere and then the next wave of immigrants comes in there, and so on and so forth.
That's one of the things I've heard about modern immigration is we used to have more, you know, punctuated immigration. Like a bunch of people immigrate, had time to assimilate, then some more people immigrated, as opposed to a constant inflow.
Right, and that's why Louisville has the second largest Somali population outside of Somalia.
I think if you're going to have like a socialist government or something like that, where you're providing for other people through taxes and stuff, I don't know. I guess it's kind of you wouldn't want to have too many immigrants, I guess, if they're not going to be contributing to that system.
Yeah, you don't bring in people who can't contribute, but for fuck's sake, the H-1B is basically the genius visa.
Yeah, but not everybody's getting in on H-1B. So if you have a huge welfare state, having unlimited migration, like my understanding, a lot of the people coming in to Europe right now as so-called refugees are actually economic migrants.
On one hand, I can understand why, given the fact that the economy they are coming from is a fucking war zone right now.
Yeah, but in some cases, my understanding, they'll come across and they're getting handouts. They're not necessarily getting jobs.
And that's a problem.
And this is what I'm hearing from reports of people, you know, that are seeing the stuff in Europe. I listen to various YouTube political commentators, and that's one of their concerns.
That's one of the big problems I have with it as well. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna go somewhere, you better be able to provide some fucking value.
Well, how can you provide value if one, you can't speak the language, and two, all you've known is a certain way of life? The only thing you know is that, hey, if I keep going this way and I keep bribing the right people, eventually I'm going to wind up in some place that's safe. but this place isn't like home, and so I mean so to me I'm kind of mixed on it because I've gotten into arguments with friends about this. This was years ago, and it was like, well, this place is nothing like the Congo, and I sort of miss home. And I'm like, well, guess what? Go the fuck back. And yet that may be an asshole, but is what it is.
Yeah, who's the lady that climbed part of the Statue of Liberty, and she was complaining about our immigration system, but yet she got here, and I'm like, you want to go back to where you were originally? I mean, you think where you were before was better than the United States? I mean, what's your complaint exactly? Anyway, all right. Technological advances often cause more harm than good. I normally would say disagree. I'll say slightly disagree because I can see times when things like more pollution is caused, nuclear weapons have caused them problems. Then again, nuclear weapons have also kept the peace between the major powers for quite a while. Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm going to say generally disagree, but what do y'all think?
I highly agree.
I disagree.
Highly disagree.
Do you think technological advances often cause more harm than good? I think that was that Greg?
No, it was me.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, I'll play the devil's advocate on that.
All right. Why do you think that technological advances often cause more harm than good?
Simply because you have to look at the long-term effects. Simplistically, we'll take the telephone, something that's not, too technologically advanced in many's eyes. Well, what does the telephone do? A lot of people say, well, it helps bring communication to people, but actually it takes away from communication because that person no longer has the ability to read physical communication. That sense of communication gets dulled, and I think it's only very one-sided in that how it's looked and viewed as a good thing.
Yeah, but I can go see someone in person if I really, really want to. But let's say before the telephone, if I'm in New York and I want to talk to someone in San Francisco, it's going to take a long, long time via mail to actually get a message through. Or I could use Telegram, of course. But with that, it's kind of related to the telephone. I could use a telegraph, but
I understand. But do you really need to talk to them?
sometimes, yes. If I'm doing some kind of business deal or trying to make some arrangements, or like I'm in New York and it's like, oh, Dad died. You need to come visit. You need to come to the funeral. Yeah, I need to.
The modern world, you can't separate yourself away from the technology because everything that you have now all bases itself around that shit. So you can't even look at it without it. You can't separate yourself from that equation because we're so immersed in it.
I think it might be said that those cases where we have too much communication going on and we have too many distractions, but
oh shit.
I'd like to remotely communicate with someone quickly.
I'd like to point out the whole reason I'm VR AR is because I firmly believe in human augmentation. And I know that's going to be the interface of the future. So you can guess where my stance is on this.
Okay. Well, I'm going to disagree for mine, but all right. State involvement is needed to protect citizens' interest. I will at least slightly agree. I want minimum state influence. Oh, that's another dude. The dude I was talking at the beginning, I started mentioning something about, I don't know. I got off on, I think too much taxes or something like that. And he said something about, Somalia being a libertarian paradise. I'm like, no, that's
no.
Now, maybe anarchist paradise, maybe. But no, it's not a libertarian paradise. And I posted an article where someone's trying to refute that. And it also assumes that any libertarian society is going to decay into that. There's other problems in Somalia besides the political system. But I think at least some state involvement is needed. I'm nowhere near an anarchist. I am a bit of a minarchist, thinking that there needs to be a limited amount of government control. What do y'all think?
Strongly or slightly agree. I'm in the same boat as you. I think that, frankly, while let me think how to phrase this. While yes, the government has a tendency to fuck shit up, it can also do more good than harm at times.
Yeah. I'm not a anarcho-capitalist. I like a lot of stuff that other capitalists say, but I think it's a pretty much unworkable idea.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can point out one example where I strongly agree with this, and it has nothing at all. So, for example, the FDA.
Okay.
If you remember in the early part of the 20th century when the Jungle was written.
Yep. Something Sinclair. What was the guy's name?
Yeah, Lewis Sinclair.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just easy to think about. Would the companies have continued to put bad meat out on the market?
Yeah, the libertarian argument against that would be that once a few people get sick from a certain place's meat, they will no longer be buying from that particular place.
But then, how would you know?
Well, I imagine word would get around like, oh shit, a bunch of people got sick because they ate from this particular place. That said, I'd like to avoid the getting sick in the first place, so I don't have a big problem with the FDA. Maybe some reforms to the FDA, but I don't have a big problem with the FDA. That's why that would be another reason why I say slightly agree.
Something unrelated. I heard that people are like apparently hitting puberty earlier or something like that because there's like a lot of growth hormones or something like that in the
yes
the meat and food supply. Would you guys? I don't know. My teacher said that. I'm like,
yeah, some of that sounds like conspiracy theory, but some other things I've seen make me go, Like the people who say they're transgender now versus, let's say, 30 years ago. I just sometimes wonder if we are putting stuff, and then also I look at some of the men who are very. You read like the testosterone levels in millennial men are so much lower than what same age was like 40 years ago, and it makes you wonder if there is something in what we're eating that is causing issues.
Soy.
Yeah, maybe.
Also, the chemicals in the water that are turning the freaking frogs trans.
All right, well, yeah, trans is correct because someone did some looking into that. There are certain chemicals you can put in the water that will make certain types of frogs legitimately switch sexes.
Crazy.
So Alex Jones is as crazy as he is.
Sometimes he's right.
Yeah, well, he was slightly off. The frog's gay, but
Well, it's not so much that he's right. It's just a little kernel of truth wrapped into a big, huge fucking lie of shit. Would you want to eat that shit to get to that kernel of truth?
Not really, but sometimes it's really funny to listen to.
True.
We're breaking the conditioning. Okay. It is moral and justified for someone to profit from ownership of private property. Agreed.
Yeah.
When I see people talk about getting rid of private property, I think of Tragedy of Commons. I got in an argument with some kind of a narco-communist about this shit, and they were going off about they don't think Tragedy of Commons applies. I'm sorry, if no one actually has direct ownership of it and get direct profit from it, who's going to actually take care of it?
Yep.
And it's their property to do with as they see fit.
Yeah.
Another thing about this guy I was arguing with one time, he said something about. I said, okay, so you're going to have you're an narco-communist. So how are you going to redistribute wealth? You're going to have the government there just long enough to redistribute wealth, and then it goes away. He said, well, I'd be okay if a government's around for like a week. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, next thing you know it, groups are gathering together, and they're trying to take out other groups to get their resources. What kind of fuck? You think everybody's going to hold hands and sing in perfect harmony? Fuck no. We are always two or three things bad going wrong to really fucking ourselves up. Despite how society looks on the outside.
Any other comments on this one?
Nope.
That religious leaders should play a key role in the running of the government. I'll say slightly disagree because I think you can get some insights from religion, even though I think largely religion is BS. I think those, how do you put it, kernels of truth that have been distilled over time and put into certain cultural norms in religion that may have some merit. but I'm not.
Hell no.
They should be a major leaders. No.
Fuck no.
I have strongly disagree because fuck theocracy.
And on top of that, would you want the motherfucker from the 700 Club to have input into how the government's run?
I wouldn't have any kind of complaint. I wouldn't have any kind of theocratic control. But I can't say that having some religious viewpoints and some religious insight is totally bad.
I mean, would you want Father Touch Kitties to have a key role?
Not a key role, no. That's why I say only slightly disagree. But I'm not going to say strongly disagree necessarily.
I just point out two things, you know. A money hungry motherfucker that, you know, and a kitty fiddler. Fuck that.
I disagree. But yeah, I disagree. Disagree.
Okay. Well, fill out your forms, and we're going to do a comparison at the end.
Yeah, I should.
The betterment of society should be the primary goal of the members of said society. I'm only say slightly agree. You should generally strive towards that, but I'm also a big fan of, how do I put it this way? I'm somewhere between that statement and Ayn Rand. I think a lot of societal improvement can be done by improving yourself. Focus on yourself first, and if everybody focused on making themselves better, it would make society better. With the exception that, yeah, there's some people who just can't make themselves better. There's some people who just always going to need a helping hand. But I'm only going to say slightly agree.
I'm filling out my form right now, so I'm not really listening.
So anybody have any opinion on the betterment of society should be the primary goal of the members of said society?
I strongly agree on that.
Okay. But there's no strongly agree. There's only agree. But I'll say slightly agree because I think a lot of things also people should focus on. If everybody, hey, put it this way, remove the log from your own eye before removing the mote from someone else's. How this way? I don't really like the idea of busybodies trying to fix everything for everybody else and just making a bigger mess of it. All right. It is important to be wary of change. Thus, we should stick to tradition. I'll say no opinion. There's times when traditions are there for a reason. Some people hate tradition just for the fact that it's fucking tradition. But sometimes traditions are there for a freaking reason. So I'm gonna put no opinion. Go ahead.
That's true. I would disagree. I think that we should go with the best possible thing at the current time, and we shouldn't really. I mean, I do like some traditions, but we should just go with the best current thing at the time and not worry about tradition.
But we don't always know the best possible thing is at the time. And that tradition may be there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
Like, oh, let's go. I don't know if this is an episode of Twilight Zone or not, but people had a legend that, oh yes, the gods live here. We must not go onto this mountain. We must stay away from this mountain. It is tradition. And then, you know, they find out later on that they go up to that. Oh, this abandoned tradition. Oh, actually, the gods up on actually there, but it used to be an old nuclear waste dump. Something crazy like that. Some kind of, you know, Twilight Zone situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I was just thinking of like genetic enhancements and stuff like that, and genetic engineering and stuff. I don't know. I feel like maybe traditional sense is that we shouldn't do that because it's, you know, not moral and whatever. But I think we should do it. I don't know if that's a good immediate thing to think about or comparison or whatever.
And also, as far as like traditional, like I think a lot of people disregard traditional family groups, like the atomic. What's the term? the atomic family.
Okay.
I think that's a tradition that we probably be better off having.
Hmm.
Okay. Resistance to the system is best achieved through the use of underground markets. Well, the slight bit of ANCAP in me would say slightly agree, although I'm not sure what scenarios they're talking about. I'm actually going to expand out the pros and cons and look at them for a bit. You all give opinion.
Hello, comrade.
Oh, we have a commie in the house.
Hi guys.
How's it going? We're taking this test. If you want to grab the test and join in, it's in the show notes.
Okay.
It's also in the chat or the Twitter chat. The most effective way to undermine the state is to inhibit its ability to collect taxes. The best way to do this is by having an underground, a black market where goods can be traded at the real value without having to pass on a share of the earnings to the state. That's, I guess, that if you're an ANCAP insurgent, that sounds good. Now, the con of that, states generally do not make the bulk of their income from the trade of goods and services, but rather from sources like income and corporate taxes. The illegal markets are also likely to be easily targeted by law enforcement. And I don't know about that necessarily, but I'm just going to say slightly agree from my standpoint. Any other feedback on that one? I shall take that as a no. Society should not seek to impose any specific code of conduct on the individual. What do you mean by code of conduct? Laws in general, like thou shalt not kill, it's kind of a code of conduct. If you mean you're not allowed to have this particular sexual activity with another consenting adult, then I'd say, no, you shouldn't impose that kind of code of conduct. But if you mean a code of conduct, you should not steal, you should not kill other people without reason, then yes. So I'm going to have to say disagree, slightly disagree, but I want a minimum amount of a code of conduct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it depends on what exactly the code of conduct is. But let's look at the pros and cons. The pros, the suggestion that there is some ideal code of conduct for everyone in society is laughable, and imposing it on people is bound to cause more harm than good. What can start as gentle encouragement to follow a set of ideals can quickly into violence and repression against anyone who goes against them. And the cons, there are clearly some codes of conduct, such as those of violent serial killers, that we should do our best not to allow. Building from this, we can point out to moral ideals that we should be remiss to not encourage everyone in our society to follow. I'll put slightly disagree.
Putting slightly disagree also.
Does our resident commie furry have any opinions?
One, I am not a furry. I'm not a furry. And two, that one I actually kind of agreed with, only because I don't think you should always impose a strict code of conduct, but don't go out on the street and go punch someone in the face. Don't be a dick. Pretty much, that's my whole stance on it. Don't go around killing, and don't go around killing people either.
Yeah.
So I actually agree with it, because if people were actually called out on being assholes, I think the world would actually be a better place. Now, for a government to impose that, that's more of a society thing than a government thing, in my opinion. Like, if we as a culture was like, okay, well, this guy's just an absolute douche, we should shun him and, not invite him out and, make sure there's some sort of repercussion for his absolute terrible behavior, then yeah.
That sounds like you actually do slightly disagree.
Then I will go back and take this later, but I don't think it's going to change what I got when I took it earlier, because I was bored.
Okay.
That's interesting. I wonder if society means something different than government. Society is like the other people in the group that you're part of. I wonder if that means something different than I wonder if it's like just if you shouldn't be having sexual relations with somebody, or you shouldn't be dressing a certain way, versus like if you shouldn't be, hurting other people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say society and government are different things.
Okay. Yeah, I'm leaving mine at slightly disagree.
Okay. Most if not all government decisions should be decided by citizens' ballots rather than fixed-term representatives. We're now getting into technology we can do that, but I'm afraid of how that might be corrupted. Then again, the representative system is corrupted, so I'm not sure.
I strongly disagree on that, just simply because if a government has to make a decision, all of a sudden now you got to send out the ballots. The ballots got to be counted, and nothing would ever get done.
Okay, you got me. So I'll say at least slightly disagree for me, because that makes I can see your point there.
Should we pay our bills? Vote this Tuesday to find out.
Yeah.
You know, and you know how voters are. They're apathetic, and they're it's like, man, look, I don't feel like fucking voting today. I'm just not going to show up.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to put strongly disagree. I think that, the people should be, the representatives should be, I mean, it's not always the way it goes, but if they're like representing as the people vote, but actually never mind, because this is vote. Yeah, I'm going to put strongly disagree. Yeah.
Okay. Any other feedback on that one?
I live in a state where my representatives do not represent the whole of Florida's interests at all. So I went with actually agree with that. But then again, like I might be in a special case because I've got like Marco Rubio and Alan West, and well, I'm not sure if Alan West is still representative. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. But I actually agree that should be more, that, it should be citizens' ballot. Granted, there's always going to be those people that just don't vote.
So they wouldn't be voting for the things that they campaigned on and stuff like that, or?
No, they don't.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, welcome to Florida.
We need to try and protect the environment from humanity and its actions. I'll say slightly agree, though I think some people will probably take that to extremes. For instance, let's say some recent some deals that have been made in the past where who would have to adjust what level of pollution they can put into the air. If there's certain agreements that will cripple the United States economy, but have no effect on China and India, who are going to be some of the major pollution producers over the next X many number of years, then what's the point of crippling the U.S. economy if it doesn't make any difference because India and China are still going to fuck things up?
But what you don't know is that China is making adjustments because of the pollution that's in Beijing.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty bad in various parts of China.
Yeah, you need to wear like a mask if you're going over there, otherwise you'll get some kind of sore throat or something.
So because of first-hand effects, not global effects, but first-hand effects locally, they actually are changing their environmental policies?
Yes, they've adapted, and they're starting to embrace a lot of green technology.
Nifty. Well, I almost say slightly agree for mine, just because I can see times when it might go overboard, but I still think it's probably a good idea. Okay. Women do not, but should share the same rights as men. They already do share the same rights.
Yeah, so that's why I put no opinion, because fuck, what rights? What rights are they talking about? I mean, this is like this isn't the 1950s where a woman's going to get passed over for promotion because hey, she could always get married and the husband can take care of her.
Oh,
fuck out of here.
Such But the wage gap, everybody brings up the wage gap, needs to fucking research that. It's been debunked so many freaking times that the way they portray it is bullshit. They say, for the same work, it's 78 cents on the dollar for the same work. It's not the same work. Actually,
it's like
aggregate of all jobs. There's more women doing school teacher jobs and more men doing engineering jobs. And also, if you look at the Bureau of Labor statistics, men do more hours grand total. So, no. Now, if you were talking about in other countries, yeah, that's a different issue. Let's see what the cons are. Unequal wages are arguably caused by the fact that most women are unwilling to take jobs in the valuable industries that are engineering, computing, and science. Many women are indeed happy to stay at home, leading traditional home care lifestyles. The inherent differences between men and women mean that giving them equal rights would be like saying that oranges and apples have the same taste. I don't know if that's a fair thing. I'm not seeing this question. I think is badly phrased.
Yeah. Yes, because I have an ex that that's what she wanted. She wanted to get married and stay at home and sit on her ass and eat bonbons. And that's why she's an ex.
And shouldn't the wage gap be decreasing also? Because I think that there's like, if there is a wage gap, I'm not saying there is. I don't really know too much about it because I think there is like a higher enrollment of females in college now than there
earnings gap.
are men.
And there are higher enrollment of women in college, but it also doesn't matter what they're majoring in.
That's true.
They're majoring in psychology instead of STEM.
Yeah.
Just because they're the majority doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be coming out with more money.
Wait. BA in psychology or BS in psychology? Because those are two different things.
Well, I'm thinking either one, because my understanding psychology, unless you go for like doctorate level degree, is it really that profitable?
I mean, if you get you have to go to at least a master's to work in social work or as a therapist.
But social work doesn't really pay shit, does it?
No, it doesn't. But it still requires you to have the at least a master's level. And if you're a therapist, you're going to be making good money, and also, there's going to be people that are going to go the medical route and become psychiatrists. So, there's two different, it's the same thing with mathematics. There's a BA in math, which I have, and then there's also a BS. The only reason I went for a BA is because I was going over in credit hours, and I was going to lose my Pell Grant. And I was double majoring in math and CS. So, special case there for me. But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it remains to be seen. But it's been several years that women have been the majority of college graduates, hasn't it?
I'm not sure. I think so, though.
I'm not sure it's going to change with the earnings gap. I'll call it the earnings gap because I'm not sure what they're majoring in is going to be something that's actually going to help them out. In my understanding, last I checked, as far as STEM degrees, well, when it comes to technology in the sense of like computers and such, men are still dominated massively, though in medicine and so forth, my understanding, women are beginning to dominate. I could be off on that statistics, but my understanding is there's more and more women going into various medical fields. Though in this case, there's also a case where even if they go into similar fields, men can still end up making more. Like, for instance, veterinarian science. My understanding, there's more women going into veterinarian science than there are men. However, more of the women have a tendency to be taking care of animals along the lines of household pets, and more men go into farmyard animals and so forth, which apparently makes more money.
Yes, it does.
Horses are really expensive animals to keep as well. So if you are a vet in South Florida that happens to be near Wellington, Florida, the polo capital of the world, you can make bank during polo season on that alone.
Interesting.
But the people who give Evie her shots don't make nearly as much money.
I am not a furry.
I know I shouldn't laugh, but fuck it.
All right, we'll move on unless someone else has anything else to say. State regulation of markets should be minimalized. I'll say agree, yes, because I'm a kind of a libertarian individual. So, yeah, keep it to a minimized level. The things like the FDA and so forth, I'm cool with. There's certain things I'd like, but I'll go along with minimal. Anybody else have anything to say on that one?
I put slightly disagree just simply because I mean you have the coal fields in eastern Kentucky and the coal mines in western Kentucky, and they're doing mountaintop removal in the eastern part of the state. So I mean, you think they would have? Do you think they would have put those mountains back the way they were, or close to the way they were, without state regulations or federal regulations, for that matter?
No, probably not.
Yeah, I'm going to put slightly agree. I think there should be not too much regulation of it, but I think that there should be some regulation just to make sure that workers aren't being exploited and stuff like that.
But then we get into the definition of what is minimized.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell, let me pull this up. State regulation of markets inhibits the freedoms and infringes on the rights of those just trying to make a living through said markets. Regulations can also lead to bubbles, monopolies, and inherent unfairness that punishes those who might otherwise be very successful. Actually, that brings up a different idea, like regulating taxis. Does the government really need to regulate taxis when people might be able to enter and exit it more freely without government regulations? Or let's say various states, you have to actually have a license to be a locksmith. You really think people should have to have a license to be a locksmith? But neither corporations nor individuals can truly be trusted to keep markets truly free. Inefficiencies can arise due to unjust or incapable manipulation of the markets, but the unfair economic power of some parties needs to be regulated in order to protect citizens' rights. And I can see an argument for that, too, when I see various things that are done on social media, and in theory, other social media outlets could pop up. Certain places like Twitter and Facebook are de facto monopolies. I'm going to stick with strongly with agree, but I could probably be convinced otherwise. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sticking with slightly agree. Though, yeah, minimized. I mean, yeah, I guess minimized means there's going to be some involvement. So, yeah, strongly agree. You could go with that too, obviously.
The rights of the individual should be paramount. Well, I don't believe in group rights, and I believe in the right of the individual and self-sovereignty over most things. So, yeah, I'm going to say agree. Any comments on that one? I'll take that as okay. Go ahead, Greg.
Pros and cons.
All right. For the rights of the individual should be paramount. I'll just say agree for me. Opposition to the system in the form of actions not allowed by the system is justifiable tool for change. I will say slightly agree, but I can see some other people using it too far. I can see people acting the fool for silly ass reasons to change a system that is pretty workable as is. So I don't know. Depends. What do you mean? Actually, I'll just open up the pros and cons. I'm not going to read this out loud, but I'm going to just look at this for a second. Y'all discuss. I guess it depends for me. How bad is the system? And people go to have a different opinion on how bad the system is. Like when I see various riots and violence from Antifa, I'm going to say, no, that is not correct. However, we were talking about the American Revolutionary War. I'm like, cool, that does seem correct. So I don't know. I'm going to say, I'll I'll say no opinion because it really is so dependent on other variables for me. What about you guys?
I mean, if a system doesn't allow certain things to be done, they put a system in place where you can't really rebel or whatever. You're going to need to do those things if you want to rebel. I'm going to say slightly agree.
Okay, this was one I'm going to say strongly disagree. I'm going to have to read the things out loud, I think, because this is going to be interesting. Money should represent hours of work rather than the value of the work. If you're just digging a ditch that no one actually is going to have any use for drainage for, or if you're building a road to nowhere, no, your work is not as valuable as someone who's doing something that's actually going to be useful. And the hours worked of a McDonald's person working at McDonald's is not the same as the hours worked of someone who's like a doctor. So no. Yep. The pros, it says, it's absurd that a farmer should earn less for a full 12-hour day of work than a corporate executive makes in only 1 hour. That depends. And I would say some corporate executives, I kind of question if they're as valuable as some people have set the market to be. However, a farmer versus like a surgeon, the farmer and the CEO are both working equally hard in terms of effort. So it is simply a step to suggest that they should really be compensated equivalently. And the cons, paying people the same amount for the same time spent working just means that people are going to take the easiest jobs that they can find. I know I would. Not to mention that in such a society, no one would have any reason to try to work harder than their coworkers. This elimination of competition and lack of encouragement to work in general would clearly result in unacceptable reductions in efficiency and production. This reminds me, I was talking to an anarcho-communist, and he was like, well, when with communism, we'd all be able to choose to do what we wanted to do, and we could spend time and focus on what we need to do instead of what we want to do instead of what other people want us to do. And I'm thinking, well, someone's going to have to fucking dig the ditches. Someone's have to do the shit work, unfortunately. Not everybody is going to be able to spend their life sitting at home being a poet. I don't know. What are people's thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I disagree strongly. I think that the market should decide like what people are going to get paid. If there's somebody that's low value in the market, they should get paid less than somebody that's high value, like you said, or the surgeon should get paid more versus somebody that is like a poet or an author or something like that, because they bring more value to the economy and the society.
But my work is important.
I'm just going to say we actually do need artists. Imagine if every UI was actually developed by a programmer and not someone who has no idea of what good UI is or what good design is.
Yeah, but I don't think
you need artists.
But I don't think it's of equal value.
Well, I mean, there's that kind of artist, and then there's the mattress girl sort of artist.
Oh shit, Emma Solkowitz.
You see, two different artists. One brings value, and one just doesn't.
Well, like one of my best friends is a graphic designer, and I would argue that he actually does more than me if me and him are collaborating on a project together.
No. That's what I'm saying. Graphic artist and somebody who just wants to attention whore and call themselves artists. Those are two separate things.
No, I agree with you there. What I'm basically getting at is like the world would be much, much, much more boring if we didn't have, people that sat down and wrote books. Like,
yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So
yes, even if that book sells one copy, I'm okay with it. But
yeah. Granted, now the barrier of entry as far as publishing goes is much lower, considering you can just write something and then throw it up on the Kindle store and hope it takes off and hope, like a real publisher reads it. And then you might actually get published by someone much bigger. So the barrier of entry to get into that is lower now. But I'd still say that qualifies as like a valuable job. So
yeah,
I actually I
I think
actually,
it does. I just don't think it provides as much value as maybe like a surgeon or something like that that's saving people's lives and etc.
yeah, I guess. But then we should also pay EMTs like we pay surgeons.
I
That's
don't know
true.
about like surgeons,
That's right.
probably higher than we do. Because my understanding EMTs make fairly low. I don't remember what the wage is, but I remember looking it up one time and it was below what I would have expected and below what I would certainly want to do the job for.
Yeah, and like they're the ones that get you stable to get you to the hospital.
I give us
And
like I want to say $15 an hour or something.
Less than that.
less. It's like 12 to 13 here at
Yeah.
least. Same thing with nurses. Like most of and anyone who works in like an urgent care, physician's assistants, we should be paying them more too, in my opinion.
The next question I think is I don't know if I phrased it the way that they did. People should be able to identify with any sexual orientation and gender they desire. I don't know if I'd put those together because sexual orientation and gender, while interrelated, are not exactly the same thing. I would split that out into like two different questions, I think. But
Yeah.
I would say slightly agree. That said, people can identify as whatever they want, but forcing other people to identify you as something is different. Like you're going to force someone to have to use a certain pronouns. Like I personally identify as an attack helicopter.
Yes, yes.
Brother.
I shouldn't be able to force other people to call me age 64. That's a pronoun.
Well, I mean, you know, I identify as a millionaire, so you must treat me as such. So where's my money?
Exactly, right?
Oh, yeah, we got one communist on the list, so what we're going to do is we're going to raid your house and steal all your shit. We might get shot, though. Never mind.
No.
What's y'all's opinion on this one?
You can identify as whatever the fuck you want as long as you don't push your shit on other people.
You know, it costs nothing to be kind, and if someone asks you to use their pronouns that they want or use the name that they want, it costs you nothing to do that. I'm just going to say that right now.
I agree, but that doesn't mean you can have people going around doing shit like kidnapping people, forcing them to become whatever the fuck you insist they be.
No one does that.
I know, and that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but, you know, it costs nothing to be kind. Also, the attack helicopter joke is old. Can you at least come up with something a little bit more original at this point?
A great example, because when someone starts saying Ziza, and I've seen people on Tumblr list out, 72 different genders that are just attention-seeking. It's just...
That's Tumblr. Tumblr does not actually represent...
Yes. When you have, like, was it Bill C-16 in Canada, which seems to mandate that people have to use the preferred gender pronouns, or it might be governmentally punishable? No, fuck that. Fuck compelled speech.
It costs you nothing to be kind, Adrian.
It costs me something if I have to remember someone's whacked out pronouns that no one else uses but somebody on Tumblr.
That's Tumblr.
And that some can be made into real life via various laws.
Look, it costs you nothing to be kind, but the reality is it shouldn't be legally enforced to be kind.
Yeah, and when someone's not kind to me, I straight up call them an asshole and walk away. But
exactly.
You know, it's still, you know, I don't think it should be government enforced, but at the same time, like, it's free.
Okay. Well, I'm sort of
about. Oh, I can't remember everybody's pronouns. Like, well, it's easy. Just program them all into your phone. Fuck that. I'm not going to remember someone's specific, customized pronouns by programming it by fucking phone.
You know what we really need? An augmented reality app that you just look at someone, it identifies them, and it puts their pronoun, and then you don't have to program it, and you can just read it.
And that would be a great thing for the Google Glass project. I think that was what's called the Google Glasses project. But that was one of the things that was prohibited by the end users, like with the developer agreement. Is there's like a couple things you couldn't do. One was facial recognition, I believe, and the second one was pornography. Those are the only two things I would ever want the Google Glasses for.
I know, right? EULAs were made to be broken.
Anything else on this one?
Like I said, I'm mixed on it because I have a friend that's transgender. Respect the hell out of her, but then on the other end, you have Bradley Manning, who I don't fucking respect, and I'm always going to refer to him as Bradley. Fuck him. But then my homegirl on the other hand, I deeply respect and call her whatever pronoun she wants.
Amen, Jack. Amen.
So if it makes me half an asshole, fuck it.
Yeah. A strong and well-funded military is desirable. I would put slightly agree, but there is such a thing as overkill. And I had a debate with a buddy of mine recently about this. And what the U.S. military spends X number of times the cost of any other country's military or the next so many countries combined. And we're already talking about pulling back some of our protections and having people spend more on their own military defense instead of having the U.S. do it for them. But he was saying that he still wants to keep the military as strong as it is and increase it. And I'm like, if we're pulling back from like defending, let's say, Germany or France or whatever, why do we have to spend as much money? And since it's a big part of the budget, I think we should spend less than we do. I think we should still keep a strong one, but I mean, we could keep a strong one and still reduce it massively.
We're not defending Germany. That's a fucking illusion. We're not defending Germany. We're not defending Japan. You know what the fuck we're doing? These are just staging areas for whenever the next conflict pops off. So, you know, you can push those soldiers there, and rather than having to send them from the U.S. to wherever, it's just basically using them as staging areas. That's why we have a global military presence.
But if we went there, because if someone invades while we're there, we're going to defend them. If we went there at all,
of course. But I mean, for the most part, it's just used as a staging area. That's it.
That might be our major reason for being there. But if we went there, they would have to defend themselves.
Of course. But I mean, when was the last time that Germany was invaded?
Apparently, it's ongoing and continuing on to this year. That's not what you meant, though. I know.
I mean, when was the last time? When was the last time the Russians crossed the Volga Gap?
Quite a while.
They never have.
Wait, which gap now?
Volga. It's a valley in Germany. That's where the theoretical invasion from the east was supposed to come from.
Because I was under the impression during World War II, the Allied forces, Russian on one side and well, about everybody else from the other side, met in the middle.
No.
Because
that was Berlin, but you know.
Where was it? Where did a lot of the fighting take place? Was it like west of Russia and east of Germany? I guess between Russia and Germany. I don't know. I thought there was like some battle or something like that, or that the Germans lost, and that like because they were fighting Russia in the wintertime or something like that, and that was kind of
Oh, you're talking about Leningrad.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking about there were Russians on German soil.
Oh yes, when they finally pushed all the way to Berlin and the surrounding areas. But they didn't push all the way, like.
And then after the war, wasn't it like there was like that was the start of the Cold War or wherever, when Berlin was or Germany or something like that, there was East and West Germany or something, and then we were dropping supplies or whatever to East Germany, I think.
Yes.
Or dropping supplies into Berlin, because East Germany also had Berlin, in my understanding, inside of it, but Berlin was agreed to be split. But since Russians controlled all the area around it, we couldn't necessarily ship things in via, let's say, truck. So we had to airdrop shit in it. If I remember it correctly, is that about correct, Jack?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'd say a strong, well-funded military is desirable, but I think we probably have more than we need right now.
One more aside. There was the Liberator. I think it was that what was it? That single shot gun or something like that.
Yep.
Did that have to do with when there was East and West Germany?
I think it was before that. I think that was more like liberation of France.
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks.
Because I used to have what was it? Weapons of the OSS book way back when I was a kid. All right. I should be proud of my culture and support those of my culture over those who are not. I'll say at least slightly agree because, quite frankly, I think my culture is pretty good, and thus I can't think of any other culture in the United States that I'd really want to completely live under. I mean, there's problems with my culture as well, and there's certain things people can pick and choose from other cultures, and I believe people should culturally appropriate as much as they want to of anything that's good from another culture. But yeah, I kind of like my culture. Anybody else have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I'll put slightly agree because I guess it's like I think that the culture is decided upon yourself, I guess, not by your society. And you should have made a good choice. Yeah.
I mean, every other culture, country I can think of and want to live in, I think has a fairly similar culture. Like I can see living in Great Britain to a degree, though they don't really have a enshrined freedom of speech. But like, then again, the same thing goes for Canada, and the same thing my understanding goes for Australia. I believe Scotland as well. I guess I am speaking mostly places that speak English. Some parts of India might be okay. Other parts of India sound pretty bad. Let me see. Oh, well, else. I mean, I've heard some people who really like living in Japan and Korea. They don't necessarily sound so bad, but the language barrier wouldn't necessarily do it for me. In my understanding, the Koreans are some pretty hard drinking mothers, and I need to avoid that. But they're very functional about it. Like I got the impression from a friend of mine who's living over Korea that there's a lot of drinking culture over there, but they're fairly I don't know if functional alcoholics is the right term, but that they get by.
Yeah. I think sake or something like that. I think that's popular in Japan. Is it?
Sake is Japan. Probably something similar to elsewhere. There was something called
soju.
Soju is like a popular booze in Korea.
Yeah, and you do not want to fuck with soju.
Yeah, I mean, soju is in theory is not that strong. I think the stuff.
Oh shit!
What? Well, I mean, when I look at the alcohol content, I think the one I was drinking was only 20%. But the last time I drank it, I did piss the bed. So you know, there's something about soju that you don't want to mess with. I will agree with that.
see, that's what I'm talking about. You'll wind up on some different shit.
On paper, it's not that strong, man. I looked at the alcohol content. And I swear it wasn't that high.
No, it's strong and it's fucking cheap, and that's why they love it. And it will get you 4 kinds of fucked up because I drank it once and woke up outside the woods and was like, I don't live anywhere near the woods. How the fuck did I get here?
I will agree that soju will fuck you up. I just don't understand why it will, because it's less powerful than like Maker's Mark or something as far as looking at the alcohol content. But yeah, something about soju I had bad experience on. All right. Does Evie have any soju experiences? I'll take that as a no. We have achieved such levels of production that there are more than enough goods to go around. Nah, I'm going to say no opinion. It depends on what the good is. Like, there's some goods that are more scarce than others. As far as cheap, plentiful food in the United States, we're doing okay. Because even though poor people are fat, that's not to say all poor people. But there's some things that, you know, housing and so forth, maybe not. I don't know what to say on this one. We're not at a post-scarcity economy by any means as of yet. What's y'all's opinion?
I'm gonna say slightly agree. Yeah, I heard that if nobody threw out their food or anything like that, I don't know if it was spoiled food or just partially eaten food or whatever, that we'd have enough to feed like the entire world or something like that. I don't know if that's true or false. It's just something that I heard.
I'll say slight degree because we do have excess in some ways, but then again, we also don't necessarily allocate it in the best. Or there's a lot of waste.
Yeah. Yeah, like even like you go to like a buffet or something like that when I was in college, you know, you'd want to take some home, but you wouldn't be able to, and they just discard like apparently all the stuff. They couldn't give it to homeless or stuff like that. Yeah, I'm gonna put slightly agree.
And do you know why you can't give it to the homeless?
Because then you'll get sued or something like that if it's bad.
Yeah, if it's left out too long and they get sick, it opens them up for legal liability.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't see why they can't sign a disclaimer or something. I guess you don't even want to just go. You don't want to go there.
Well, because then, hey, I was hungry and I really wanted that food and it made me sick, but I was coerced into it. That
Mm-hmm.
See, this next question, I'm a little confused on what exactly it means. I don't know if it's similar to the whole FDA question or it means something else. Government intervention in markets in order to protect citizens' interests is justified. I'd probably want it to be a minimum. I'll say slightly disagree, but I can probably see times where I would say agree. It is?
Yeah, I'm interpreting it the same way as that other question. Should there be government involvement in the market? Yeah, at a minimum, I agree. I think that there should be minimum intervention in markets.
I'll say slightly agree, though I'm a little bit hesitant. Change should be achieved through the apparatus of the system. Well, in general, when possible, yes.
I'm gonna look at the pros and cons.
That seems like the same question asked a different way of what we saw up above. Workers' unions lead to inefficiency and corruption and unemployment and thus should not be allowed. I'll say no opinion because, yes, they do lead to those things, but sometimes they also lead to good outcomes. So I'll say no opinion because those times when I've heard of people label unions who are basically just sucking dues off them and doing jack shit for them. And I've heard other times when they had a decent union and it actually helped the people out. But I've never actually been a member of a union to my knowledge. So anybody else have thoughts on that?
I'm still working on the previous one.
I have. I've been a dues paying member of a union at one time, and yeah, they just use collective bargaining in order to preserve someone's job. So let's just say somebody's performance subpar. So basically, they call for a quote unquote proxy strike if their member is going to get pushed out for whatever reason.
But in that case, it does sound like it led to inefficiency because you were keeping around someone who wasn't actually pulling the weight.
And then on the other hand of it, my stepfather is a member of a union and has been for years, and so during the times where he couldn't get a job on his own, he would go to the union hall and they would get him a job, and it would be 2 to 3 days at a time, so they would help out in that manner.
I think unions are good. I think it means that like corporations can't get away with too much. Like you have a collective group, they can bargain for stuff.
I got disconnected. I'm back. I wonder why I wasn't hearing anything from Jack. Where were we?
I was sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think unions are good. So I'm gonna say slightly disagree. I think they're good. You know, it's a way that corporations can't get away with too much. They could collectively bargain, and yeah. So I'm gonna say slightly disagree.
Okay. People should elect representatives to vote on the government policies in their place. I'll say slightly agree because of some things that Jack brought up earlier as far as efficiency, quick decision making. Although then we have representatives who basically become corrupt and never leave, and I would love to have term limits.
How long of a term limit? What?
Great question. Let's go with
I mean, do you want to go with the Washington precedent?
well, yeah, 2 and out.
Yeah.
I think I could argue against it, but at the time being, I would say yes.
Or you know, I'm kind of leaning more towards 3. You get 3 elections. That's it. 3 elections for a given office. So, for example, like if you're in the House, you get 3 elections, 6 years, and you're done. If you go to the Senate, you get 3 elections, which is 18 years, and you're done. I don't see what's so hard about that, but rather than having, you know, members of Congress be there for 20 plus years and ain't accomplish shit, and then wonder why they go to a restaurant in the Highlands and they get protested.
There's currently no limit on the number of terms that somebody in the House or Senate can serve, are there?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's not good.
All right, religion and government should be kept separate. I'll say at least slightly agree. I don't really want religion getting involved, but depending on what do you mean by that. Like if a religious person wants to run for office, I don't want to see it taken too far. But yeah, I generally want to keep my government fairly secular. Is there even much to argue about on that one?
Yeah, I'm putting agree also. Yeah, I think you should, you know, maybe you'll have certain tenets from your religion or something like that, but I think that they should be kept separate.
Similar ideologies should act in unison to challenge radically opposing ones. I'm going to say, why wouldn't anybody ever say not agree? Because if you have similar ideologies, they're close enough, and if someone's radically different, yeah, I have to look at the why that's even a question. I'm curious. There have been countless examples of movements and parties tearing themselves apart at the worst times just because one half disagreed with some minor points given by the other half. Those seeking change often squabble over minor policies, and most often than not, never become an issue because the split parties never form a government. Surely the minor points can be resolved when the common changes sought have been achieved. Cons: different policies are different policies, no matter how trivial or small a difference they appear to be. Just as many a rebellion has failed to form because people disagree with each other, many a revolution has seen half of the supposed victors being executed and betrayed by the supposed allies. Yeah, that is true. That's one of the things that also gets me about how to put it, what Hitler had the Night of the Long Knives, where a whole bunch of people were killed off. Stalin had a whole bunch of people he killed off because they disagreed with him or didn't want him to be the particular one that was in charge. So I can see that, but in general, if I'm arguing against like an anarcho-communist, I'll take and side with the anarcho-capitalist, even if I don't totally agree with his ideology. So there's probably a lot of little details that could change my answer to this, but I'll just say agree for the time being.
Yeah, I'm putting agree also. I think that you can't be so stuck in your ways. You have to compromise or something. And yeah, an enemy of your enemy is should be like a friend, I guess. You know.
In general, though sometimes not all enemies of your enemy are necessarily your friends, but
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
all right. Society should adhere to religious tenets. I'm gonna say no opinion because it's highly dependent on the freaking religion. And how do I put it this way? People say a complaint about people have about religion is religion controls people, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes that's a good thing. I walk around Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, yes, I'm glad that particular individual over there believes in a God that will punish him in the afterlife if he does bad. That makes me happy because I don't think everybody can necessarily logically come to certain moral actions that are best for them and those around them. I don't know if everybody can understand the rational self-interest of behaving in certain moral patterns. So I'll put no opinion. It's highly dependent on the religion for me. But what do y'all think?
I'm gonna think it over.
That's a tough one.
You know me as a strong atheist. You know where I sit on it.
Yeah, no religion.
Exactly. There's a wall of separation of church and state for a reason. I have no problem with a lay pastor somewhere wanting to run for office as long as he knows that he checks that God at the door when he is speaking as the office holder.
Gotcha. Evie? I think Evie's checked out.
Sorry.
She's been put in the gulag. All right. Workers should be organized according to the industry in order to protect their interests. Huh? Is this a labor question? All right, pros and cons. Shoot, because some of these things might actually give information on why they asked that question. Culture, religion, race, ethnicity, and so forth are all somewhat less significant societal drivers than that of labor. The plurality of time spent working in one's life creates a deep attachment to a profession, a trade, an art, or a craft much more than we often care to admit. Those who share professions most often are the best suited to understand the struggle and needs of those in the same industry, leaving it as a logical step to suggest that it is this organizational grouping that people most make sense. No, I don't think people identify as a job as nearly as much as they do race, ethnicity, religion, and so forth. Giving organizational power to groups of workers that produce goods vital to running society is bound to end in corruption, not to mention that the union could easily hold society hostage to their demands, however unjust they may be. I'm going to say slightly disagree, but I'm not saying I totally understand the question either. Okay, I'll keep rolling then if no one has anything to say. A small group of politically conscious intellectuals should lead us into revolution. This the fuck agree.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, would you want Yvette Falarker to lead the revolution?
Fuck no.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to call it intellectual, though. There's a lot of people who are so-called intellectual or academics who. By intellectual, you mean like college professors? Those most college professors I've encountered, I don't think I want to be in charge of jack shit.
But I mean, I looked at that and I instantly thought, would I want an SJW like Yvette Falarka to, no.
You guys are saying disagree because it should be anybody could lead us to a revolution. You don't need to be.
Well, I don't really want a revolution. I especially want a revolution by a bunch of academics who haven't actually worked a real job in their life.
Gotcha.
Assuming that's what they meant by intellectuals. I've seen people whenever someone refers to themselves as an intellectual, they're probably not someone you really want to deal with. And I remember I had an argument with someone once that said, "Oh, I'm glad to see X movement hasn't been producing anti-intellectuals because I made a joke about, I made a comment about a lot of academics are worthless. Yeah, because you are. That's not anti-intellectualism. That's just observing. I spent like 16 years working in a university. Fuck you. You soy boy piece of San Francisco shit. Anyway, we should try to limit meat and dairy consumption as much as possible. Disagree. Fuck you. Eating meat. What do y'all have? Any opinions on meat?
You know me, I love steaks.
Yeah, I'm gonna put down disagree. I don't see why we should limit it. I mean, I guess I know for the environment and stuff like that, but I don't. I think disagree. I mean,
At least pick sustainable options.
that's true.
Nothing but 100% naturally grown EV steaks. Yes.
I am not food.
We should strive to abolish wages. And we gotta open up these to, oh crap, I don't want to read all that shit. So the idea is basically to hand out to people what they need as opposed to having wages?
Do that on your own, homie.
Nah, fuck you. We're gonna have wages. Disagree. Any other opinions on that?
Oh.
All right. People have the same fundamental worth. Disagree. Nope. Sorry. There's certain degree programs. Like I knew someone who, and I think one reason she pisses off with me, and I blocked her. She likes various things disregarding me. She got a gender studies degree, and I'm like, so you majored in being worthless. You majored in learning to hate everybody who's not your particular gender, and you learned nothing that actually helped you in the real world. And eventually, she ended up getting some kind of computer security degree. No, some people get degrees. Some people go into fields that are basically worthless parasites. I don't believe everybody has the same fundamental worth.
I agree. To the economy, I think that some people do have more worth than other people. Yeah.
You ever been?
No, excuse me, disagree.
You ever seen Real Peer Review? It's a Twitter account. Real Peer Review. They go into all these academic journals and pull out the most asinine, pseudoscientific, I guess postmodernist would somebody refer to as bullshit. That I'm like, why'd you like? For instance, have you heard of a paper called I think it's called Feminist Glaciology?
I can't say I have.
Feminism to glaciers.
Oh my gosh.
That's just one silly thing. You go at the Real Peer Review. It's a Twitter account. Actually, OK Ultra runs it. I think she's the one that runs it still. They have such asinine papers out there. You heard of the so-called experiment?
What experiment?
So-called experiment.
No, I haven't.
This guy basically generated a bunch of completely bullshit articles to see if he could get it accepted into various supposedly peer-reviewed academic journals. And which disciplines I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to think if it was sociology or what. Let me look this up real quick. Basically, though, he can generate complete bullshit and prove that various supposedly peer-reviewed journals would accept anything.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Sokal submitted his articles to Social Text, an academic journal of postmodern cultural studies. Basically, he basically showed that it was just a bullshit field. Yeah, look up the SoCal affair sometimes. SOKAL. But yeah, you got any opinions on this one, Jack or Evie?
I've, for a while, have held the opinion that if you get a bullshit degree, you can't really complain when you work at Starbucks, but at the same time, we do need artists. But with sociology, I'm sorry. Granted, there are actual sociologists out there, but if your main method of research is handing out a survey, First off, everyone lies on surveys. I know I do, unless you really piss me off. And it's like a consumer survey where it's like, okay, did we do a good job? No, Comcast, you did not. But outside of that, it's like, I don't know. I also had to take a sociology class in college, and I had a bingo sheet laid out in front of me for every time some pseudoscience or someone was about to say something incredibly racist or sexist or homophobic or transphobic. And every class I got bingo. It was absolutely amazing.
Which class was this?
It was the only one that I could fit in my schedule, but it was so keep that in mind. I had to take a social science, and this was the only one that fit in my schedule, but it was race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, and race, gender, ethnicity, and class in the modern world. It was the worst class I ever took in my entire life.
Nice.
I sat there and I would just fuck off on my laptop on Reddit or sit there and program and show up I had to show up because it was an attendance taking class and it was at 9 a.m. and I'm like, I am not awake enough for this bullshit.
Okay. How about you, Jackie?
What?
Never mind.
I mean, I'm trying to keep. Okay, so back to the. So I'll look at the question. The only thing I can think about is the ex that just wanted to, get married and sit on her ass. She had a associate's degree in greenhouse science. I shit you fucking not. And never
Would be
worked in.
useful for growing pot.
No, she didn't want to do that.
That's what you do with the degree in greenhouse science. Why else would you get that degree?
No, it's because she liked plants. And she never grew plants. Not even ivy or, or a ficus or some shit. Nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say anyone can grow mint. Shit's invasive and it will grow anywhere.
Not her. She ain't grow a motherfucking thing. Because she thought she would get a job someday working at a greenhouse, or some guy would be kind enough to get a loan in his name and help her start a greenhouse. So yeah, I mean, people have different fundamental worths, and it's just is what it is.
Okay. Government should only be involved in the administration of vital services like police and fire services. And there's a few other services, but I'm not assuming that they're not being exclusive to just those two. I'll say agree. Any other comments on that one? Okie dokie. Taxation of land and buildings should be the primary source of government revenue. Here, see, it's the only source of revenue. That's one of them. Another could be income tax. Another could be tariffs. I will say slightly agree because you got to get the money from someplace, and I think I might prefer this over income tax, but I'm not sure. Let me look at the pros and cons.
Hey guys, I'm back. Anybody can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm back. I got 100.
I don't know. I'm not sure on this one. I'm gonna say slightly agree because I really would not like to pay an income tax, but I actually do own property. Can we go back to where only people with their own property can vote? Can we do that?
Fuck you.
No, thank you.
Eat a dick.
Was that?
Eat a dick.
Not my persuasion. I wish I was that way, but no, this doesn't interest me.
We can go get you a lady boy.
God damn it, Allie.
So what are y'all's opinion of this? this form of taxation versus some other primary source for government revenue?
Have I ever mentioned that I'm very firmly in the camp of YOLO, fuck it?
Okay, if you don't have an opinion on this one, I'll go on to the next one. Communism is a failure as it would be detrimental to even attempt any such system. Agree. I know some other people have a different opinion on that, but
Yeah, because China is technically a capitalist society by now, and they just don't want to scream out no muss because the party has such a strong hold.
all right. Anybody else have an opinion on this one?
There are ways to make communism work, but we don't have the technology yet.
You want what was that meme? Fur luxury gay space communism. What was it?
Fully automated luxury gay space communism.
What is the origin of that shit?
Star Trek.
That meme? No, the meme, because that particular phrasing. I remember seeing someone wrote that in a suicide letter, but I don't know if that was even a real suicide letter or if that was a faked up meme to get attention.
I don't know that. I just have always referred to Star Trek style, the whole premise of the Federation Society as, or at least the Earth Society and the Federation as being fully automated luxury gay space communism, because that's literally what it is.
I mean, when you look at the TV Tropes Wiki, they actually have an entry for it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to hit finish and let's see what it comes up with me. Oh, this time I came up with anarcho-capitalist. Before I was coming up with some other stuff. I don't remember what the other one. One of them was, I don't remember what it was last time. I need to go figure out what it was. So anarcho-capitalism, 60%. Bernieism, I'd have to go look up this more to figure out what this is. Oh, free market environmentalism. Before I used to get that as my top one. What?
So, I know I linked to my old one in there.
With ideologies, anarcho-primitivism, fuck you, I'm not wiping my ass with leaves. Anarcho-feminism, I'm sorry, in an anarchist society ran by women, I think
are these your worst? Are these your worst matches?
Yes, these are my worst matches. I'm pretty sure you go get conquered pretty fast. I remember, what was it, when Sweden said, we're going to fight Russia with feminist foreign policy. I'm like, yeah, let's see how that works for you. And Luxembourgism, which, if I remember right, is some kind of different version of Marxism. So I have to look into more into Bernieism, but it's not far. Anarcho-capitalism, I want to say I want more government than what the average anarcho-capitalist wants. But that's what I end up getting. What y'all get?
Yeah,
I linked mine earlier, and it's.
But I lost all that when my browser.
Oh, God damn it! Here,
my browser died.
Here, I'll link mine as well.
mine is an absolute surprise to literally no one.
Okay, this is an owie.
Does anybody know what chemolism is?
There's a button that says more info.
Oh, okay.
All right, anarcho-syndicalist. Okay, yep, comic, definitely helicopters. Classical Marxism, more helicopters. Anarcho-feminism, more helicopters, but this time painted pink. Green syndicalism, helicopters painted green. Egads, there's a whole bunch of ones that you match 100%. What about the ones you don't match? Shit.
This is why I think this test is a bit off.
Yeah, but then Allie, go look at mine.
Yeah, and
no, but you and I have damn near identical tests.
All your worst ideologies, also, I've never heard of. Man, they have so many different refined versions of different types of libertarianism. It's kind of weird.
I don't know. I think I matched literally every single form of like communism on mine.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a lot of helicopters.
Revolution!
Oh no, I'm looking at owies. I'm sorry. I think I'm looking at owies. Wait, which was that top one I took?
Owie.
Owie got anarcho-feminism? Okay.
I'm surprised by that too.
All right. Now this one is Comrade Evie's. Anarcho-communism, anarcho-syndicalism. That's kind of very similar to ours. Collectivism, archaism. See, egads, if you have any kind of like views along the communist line, they put you into a lot of different categories. Communalism. What the hell, man? This keeps going and going. Classic liberalism, negative 80%. I think you're going to have a totalitarian regime there, Evie. Fusionism, paleoconservatism. Okay.
Oh, so was an Alex Jones.
Wait, how am I Alex Jones?
Because he's a paleoconservative.
Oh, I hate that fucker.
But that was, I think he's amusing as hell. But
I
what's
have negative
ideology?
90%.
Oh, yeah, worse. Okay.
Today she was, it's negative 90%. In other words, worse matching.
Yeah.
All right, and this one is Jack's. Juice. Oh, what the hell is this? Do you know what this even is?
Yeah. Apparently, I would get along fine in North Korea.
See, he's the totalitarian one. I just want small groups of people, communities making the rules, and that's pretty much it.
All right. And
Gucci!
social democracy. So actually, some of this stuff looks like fairly standard, not uber left Democrat, but fairly standard Democrat stuff in some ways.
Gucci.
Or I may not understand though, except for this. This is Korean. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that 60%. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I get along fine in North Korea, just fine.
Actually, this one's the highest. Is at 67.
Oh, you mean the founding of Turkey?
Hmm.
I have the perfect music for this. 1 second.
Okay, well, that's what the test goes through. I'm not sure all the questions are well phrased and so forth, but
I'll stop once I find the thing.
Is that the stay music?
Yes.
Howie?
I stop it because I'll get a copyright.
I say I like this music.
No, we're gonna stop it because I'll get a copyright strike. All right. Well, that's what the test came through as. Anybody have any other statements or opinions or things they want to say?
I'm not sure DevGru would actually care about that, to be honest.
What?
DevGru, they made Stay. I don't think they'd care.
They're also making an attack helicopter dating simulator.
Yep.
What?
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't think we have anything else to say on this. I'm gonna stop it. We can have a little discussion afterwards if you really want. But I'll go ahead and thanks everybody for joining. And take the test, have fun with it. Like all these political tests, I think a lot of them should be taken with a huge freaking grain of salt. But I'll catch y'all on Wednesday.